Hi everybody, this is Dino from Prehistoric Facts. This is an answering questions episode, so we can get right to it, shall we? So I'm Brendan from Morris, New York. My question is, are there any evidence of Tyrannosaurus bigger than Sioux? Is the University of California Museum of Paleontology and Museum of the Rocky specimens are the same size as Sioux or larger? Now, when we actually look, so Sioux right now is actually the largest and most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton that is found by far. And so, when we look at Sioux, we actually see that it is a very large skeleton. We know that, and so we know that it's a very large Tyrannosaur. And when we see these articles that are out and that are actually saying oh, there's a Tyrannosaurus Rex that is bigger than Sioux. So here's one, the University of California Museum of the Paleontology specimen. But the thing is that, and also there's like a Museum of the Rocky specimen out there that could actually be larger than Sioux. But the thing is that most of those specimens that actually are claiming to be bigger than Sioux are mainly based on either one, two, or basically by one bone, or otherwise maybe by 5 bones. So these were probably not even fully complete specimens. Well, I know the University of California Museum of Paleontology one is actually based off of 2 bones. A toe bone and 1 bone from the skull. And so that actually says something, is that it is not a complete specimen. Or otherwise, they dug up a specimen that probably could be bigger than Sioux, but it's just that they never actually had the chance to find the other bones. And so that could actually be the case, or otherwise maybe the other bones were just either washed away, or otherwise maybe there was a scavenger that actually came around and actually ate some of the T-Rex that was out there. Now, they actually base the Museum of the University of California Museum of Paleontology specimen, UCMP specimen, is based off of a toe bone. And they claim that this toe bone is larger. Some scientists claim that this toe bone is larger than the one on Sioux. And so they actually think that, like, oh, this has got to be like maybe like a 45 to 50 foot T-Rex. But there is no evidence of it. And so, and there's like a Museum of the Rocky specimen that actually has a pubic bone, or a pubis bone, that is bigger than Sioux's. But they didn't really have a fully complete skeleton. And so that really actually size of certain Tyrannosaurus Rex specimens. And so probably some of these specimens are either as large as Sioux, or otherwise they're just basically just not fully complete. And so I would actually say they're not fully complete. And so I would probably say this: we need more evidence. We need more evidence to actually support whether or not some of these specimens actually were bigger than Sioux. Because like if both of those museums actually went out there and actually tried to find like other pieces of their skeletons, then maybe they could actually estimate the size. But I think the one bone that they actually can actually find out how large some of these Tyrannosaurus Rexes could be is finding the back of the skull bones, the skull in the back. So all the bones in the back of the skull, they can actually determine the size of basically the skull, and also how long could this Tyrannosaurus Rex be. And so that, what I actually guess, is probably what they're going to look for. And so I would hope that they find more skull bones. We're finding Tyrannosaurus Rexes that have complete skulls now, and that's actually really, really cool. Like the Berkey Museum in Washington, they actually got a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull that is fully complete, and it's remarkable. And you can actually catch up with how far it's gone of actually excavating that skull out of the matrix. It is spectacular looking skull, spectacular, and I recommend actually looking that one up. Museum of the Rocky specimen is probably the same way with the UCMP specimen, is that it's not fully complete. They only have found parts of the hips. They don't have and the hips are not a really good estimate to find out the length and height and weight of the animal. And Benjamin from Hong Kong, I got a few questions here. Is Nuquensaurus the same as Saltosaurus? Nuquensaurus is a dinosaur I never heard of before, but I believe if you're actually talking about it, if this dinosaur is actually the same as Saltosaurus, there's probably certain differences between Nuquensaurus and Saltosaurus. Like Saltosaurus could actually be larger, whereas Nuquensaurus could be smaller. That would probably be the one reason why those two probably are not the same. But if they have the same like back scutes that Saltosaurus has, maybe it could be larger specimen. Maybe the Nuquensaurus could be either a smaller specimen of Saltosaurus, or otherwise it could actually be larger specimen of Saltosaurus. We don't know. Is Saurophaganax the largest Jurassic predator? So far, yes. Saurophaganax is actually considered to be nearly the same size as I would think is probably close to, I think it's closer to Mapusaurus, if I remember correctly. Mapusaurus is actually a large Carcharodontosaurid, but it's not as big as Carcharodontosaurus and Giganotosaurus are around those particular times, but it is pretty close to the size of Mapusaurus. Mapusaurus can go close to 40 feet in length. Saurophaganax could actually be nearly the same thing as nearly 40 feet. And so it's nearly the same size as T-Rex, but not in terms of muscle mass and not in terms of height. Is Giganotosaurus the biggest land predatory dinosaur ever? Mostly, yes. And so Giganotosaurus is considered to be a land predatory dinosaur, or Spinosaurus is a semi-aquatic predatory dinosaur. And so those two are actually going to be having different types of ways in terms of size. Spinosaurus is the longest and largest predatory dinosaur to ever live, but it's actually semi-aquatic, so it's mainly going to be spending more time in the water. Whereas Giganotosaurus is considered to be the largest land theropod dinosaur to ever exist, and so Giganotosaurus would be the king of actually the land predatory dinosaurs in terms of size, where in land predatory dinosaurs, whereas Spinosaurus would actually be the king of the semi-aquatic dinosaurs. But even though, to me, the king of dinosaurs is Tyrannosaurus Rex, and so I don't think you can outdo Tyrannosaurus Rex in terms of its body mass and also its influence into pop culture. But Giganotosaurus would be considered the largest land predatory dinosaur to ever exist. Is Torvosaurus more famous than Saurophaganax? In a way, yes. Because Torvosaurus has been featured in a few TV series, not many movies, not many books, but Torvosaurus tends to actually have a little bit more of a familiarity towards the public, towards the paleontology community than Saurophaganax. Because Saurophaganax is very rare. There's very little skeletons that have been found of Saurophaganax. Very few complete specimens. Torvosaurus is nearly the same way. It's just that Torvosaurus has been a few more specimens, and so mainly most of those specimens came from Europe, from Torvosaurus, because Torvosaurus is very rare in North America. But they have found Torvosaurus specimens in North America, but Europe is where Torvosaurus is a little bit more common. Saurophaganax is mainly a North American dinosaur, or North American predatory dinosaur, and so that's probably where people are probably not going to know. People are probably not going to know what Saurophaganax is. They just look up the name and go, "I never heard of this dinosaur before," but it seems to be an impressive-looking dinosaur. That's not the kind of thing, you know. And how come Ceratosaurus never appeared in Planet Dinosaur, Dinosaur Revolution, or Walking with Dinosaurs? Well, when we look at Ceratosaurus, it is actually considered to be a famous theropod dinosaur, a meat-eating dinosaur. It's got the horns above its eyes, and then the iconic horn on its nose, that blade-like horn on its nose. And so it is kind of actually been represented in pop culture and movies and TV many times. But in terms of Planet Dinosaur, the BBC series, and Dinosaur Revolution, and Dinosaur Revolution, the Discovery Channel series, and the BBC series, once again, Walking with Dinosaurs. Ceratosaurus was not going to be featured in Walking with Dinosaurs, surprise, because basically not a lot of people are probably not going to recognize Ceratosaurus very much if it was featured in Walking with Dinosaurs. But granted, Allosaurus was shown a little bit more. There's more specimens of Allosaurus out there than there are Ceratosaurus, so Ceratosaurus is kind of rare in the late Jurassic, so it probably actually stayed away from the plains, so it probably lived in the forest a little bit more. In terms of Planet Dinosaur, same way. It was very rare specimens, very rare around that particular time. But Saurophaganax was featured in Planet Dinosaur, so that actually kind of gives people to go like, oh, there's a large predatory dinosaur that lived in the Jurassic period, same time as Allosaurus, but it's like twice as big, and so that sort of thing. And also Walking with with Dinosaur Revolution, the setting in that Jurassic period timeline was in Portugal, and Ceratosaurus much more rare in Portugal than they are in North America, and so that really actually put the damper on Ceratosaurus and being in the popular culture and those type of TV shows. And so it is kind of a shame that they don't show Ceratosaurus that much in those series, but we got to see it in Jurassic Fight Club. Jurassic Fight Club actually kind of exposed Ceratosaurus a little bit more, get people to realize that, like, hey, there's another predatory dinosaur out there. It almost looks cooler, but not as powerful as Allosaurus, and not as common as Allosaurus. But it is actually kind of a well-known dinosaur for a long time. But it's just not very well known in the popular culture that much, because it's actually just kind of like almost like a I don't want to say like a I don't want to use minuscule type of predatory dinosaur, but I would actually say it's just not in the minds of a lot of people, because more people are going to recognize Allosaurus a little bit more, because Allosaurus was shown a lot more. That's it for now. The next week will actually be a special episode, so if you have any prehistoric animals you want me to talk about, feel free to let me know in the suggestions, and just let me give me some suggestions via the YouTube comment section, or otherwise email them to me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise send them to me on the Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. But you can still send me questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life by emailing me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or just go to my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions on the wall, or even in the comment section. But remember, keep your questions short to the point. You could also follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. It's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of people around you. Notes for you younger people out there to make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and guardians. It's the best motivation you can have a good education. It's very important to have a good education. With a good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.